My wife Mia and I were driving cross-country. It was our first attempt at the Great American Road Trip. Mia and I rented a small RV, more of a camper than a full-blown RV. We packed up a couple of suitcases with plenty of room for any souvenirs, and we hit the dusty trail. We started our journey on the Mother Road, Route 66, driving south from Chicago until we connected to I-70 and shot straight west through Missouri. The goal was to see those parts of the country we had never seen before, stopping anywhere that seemed interesting. From the plains of Kansas up through the Badlands of Wyoming and South Dakota. In Missouri, we saw the world's largest cap gun. In Kansas, we visited the Evil Knievel Museum and the world's largest belt buckle. We love all those kitschy, tourist trap places. Eventually, we made it to Colorado, and after a few hours more of driving through amber waves of grain, we saw them, the Rocky Mountains. We exited and headed north through the winding mountain highways. The Rockies were gorgeous. Snow-capped in the middle of summer, some of the peaks pierced through the white, fluffy clouds. We saw a sign that read, "Traffic tunnel 3 miles." A little further, and sure enough, there was a large tunnel bored directly through the mountain in front of us. A large sign read, "Pike Tunnel, the longest traffic tunnel in the nation. Please turn your headlights on now." "How long is it?" asked Mia. "That's what she said," I quipped. But she was right. There was no information beyond the detail that this was the longest tunnel in the nation. "It can't be more than a mile or 2, I said as I watched the little white car ahead of us slip into the darkness. A moment later, we joined it. The tunnel was lit by fluorescents that gave everything a greenish-yellow tinge. On the left-hand side was a raised walkway behind a railing for maintenance access. Initially, I was struck by the incredible amount of work that went into the construction of this man-made marvel. "We're under 1,000,000 tons of Rocky Mountains right now," I said. "How many years before this caves in?" Mia responded. I shot her a look. "Let's save the cave and talk until we're out on the other side. I'm just saying that nature will take this back eventually," she continued. I scanned the empty road ahead of us. "Where did the other car go?" I asked. We were now alone in the tunnel, with no cars ahead of us or behind us. "Ah, they must have sped off ahead. Maybe they're scared of a cave-in." My Spotify playlist had stopped playing. Mia looked at the phone. No cell service. She turned on the radio and spun the dial, only to find static. "You're not going to be able to pick up a station in here," I said. She turned the volume down. "I just wanted to check. If only we had some CDs. This tunnel keeps going." "I would have thought we'd be through it by now," I replied. I looked at the RV's odometer, 45,600 miles. I picked up speed. I wanted to try and catch up to the little white car. Up until this point, the tunnel was a straight shot. But now the tunnel started to curve to the right. It may have been my imagination, but it also felt as though we were descending. Mia felt it too, and she started to get antsy. "Where did that other car go? How long is this tunnel?" There was an urgency in her voice. I was getting nervous. Claustrophobia is not usually a problem for me, but when I looked down at the odometer and saw that it had gone up by 3 miles, my mind began to wander to unsettling places. We were descending in altitude. I could feel it. I could see a slope in the lights on the ceiling and the railing of the maintenance walkway. I could feel pressure in my head, and I was getting cold. "Could you grab me a Coke from the back, Mia?" I couldn't have Mia getting anxious. That would only start a chain reaction and make me freak out, which would then make her freak out. She unbuckled and dove into the back of the RV, where we had a cooler stocked with drinks and food. Just as she stepped into the back, I saw something. There, standing on the side of the road, was a man wearing a reflective safety vest and a hard hat. He was waving to me as I passed him by. Something about him looked strange. I watched him in the side view mirror as we passed, and he was still watching the RV, still waving at the back of our vehicle as he faded into the distance. Mia reappeared from the back of the RV, Coke in hand. She popped it and handed it to me. "Oh, you look worried." I'm fine, I smiled and took a sip of the Coke. Eric, slow down. I slammed on the brakes as I saw what made me scream. On the road in front of us was a roadblock. 2 reflective traffic sawhorses blocked both lanes of the tunnel. Beyond the roadblock, the lights of the tunnel were dark. There was nothing but a void of blackness. Standing in front of the roadblock was another man wearing a reflective vest and a hard hat. Only this time his hard hat had a light on top, which obscured his face. We came to a jolting stop. I turned to Mia. "Are you okay?" I asked. "I'm fine," she replied. "It's a cave-in, isn't it?" "God, I hope not." I rolled down the window, leaned out, and yelled to the man in the hard hat. "Hey, what's going on?" The man was about 5 yards away. He took 2 steps towards us and then raised a hand to his mouth and yelled, "Just doing some maintenance." "How long is it going to take?" I yelled back. The man made a hand gesture, as if he didn't hear me. "How long is it going to take?" I called again. He made the same gesture. I unbuckled my seatbelt and grabbed the door release. "What are you doing?" Mia asked. "I gotta know what's going on." "Eric, just stay here, it might not be safe." "I'll be just a second," I said. I pushed the door open and stepped down from the RV. "Stay in your vehicle," the man yelled. He took a couple of steps towards me with his hand out, telling me to stop. "What's the holdup?" I shouted. The man was a bit closer now, but I still couldn't see his face through the shining light on his helmet. "Please stay in your vehicle," he shouted. There was something off about him. Then I heard it. A scream, or something, rolled from deep in the tunnel. The worker turned and looked into the darkness. Then he ran past the barricades, and soon all we could see of him was the light on his helmet. The light disappeared a moment later. "What the hell was that?" "Is someone hurt?" Mia asked. "I have no idea," I said. "Should we do something?" Mia asked. I just sat there and watched the pitch-black tunnel in front of me. I had no idea what to tell her. I checked the side view mirrors. There was still nobody behind us. "Where are the other cars?" I asked. "They must have gotten through before the roadblock." "Or maybe they caused the roadblock," Mia replied. I saw another worker a little ways back. We could try to go back and talk to him. We'd be going straight into any oncoming cars. There's a maintenance walkway. We didn't pass him that long ago. We can probably catch him on foot. Maybe we should just wait for the guy to come back." She reached over and grabbed my arm. I squeezed her hand. She was right. I looked out at the tunnel ahead of us. I turned on the RV's high beams, but all I could see beyond the roadblock were more tunnels and more roads. I checked my phone. Unsurprisingly, there was still no service. We waited, but the man never came back. "It's been 20 minutes," Mia said. "How come there hasn't been another car behind us?" I was having the same thought. I rolled down my window and stuck my head out. I looked back at the road behind us. It went back about 200 yards before curving out of sight. There was no sign of that first worker I saw on the maintenance walkway. I looked at the roadblock ahead of us and clicked on the RV's high beams. There was nothing beyond the roadblock but more tunnels. It didn't look like it was under construction, it was just very dark. "I think we should keep going," I said. "What about the roadblock?" "We'll move those sawhorses out of the way and just drive past," I said as I opened my door. Mia looked at me. Then she cast her eyes to the dark tunnel ahead of us. I knew she was processing the same limited options that I was. Driving backward would be a huge risk in the event of another car finally coming along. Getting out and walking would take God knows how long. We could have driven 10 miles at this point. Forward was our best option. "Let's do it," Mia said. We jumped out and quickly pulled the 2 sawhorses out of the right lane. I pulled the RV up past the barriers, and then we jumped out again and put the sawhorses back where they were. We didn't need another car to come barreling through. We were finally moving again, slowly. It was pitch black, save for the high beams of the RV. We crept forward at around 15 miles per hour. As the tunnel turned and twisted, my eyes started to play tricks on me. I kept seeing shapes at the furthest point of the tunnel. I kept seeing something standing just at the end of the next bend. But as we rolled forward, there was nothing there. Where are the workers? Mia asked. I don't know. Ace. I was done rationalizing. This was all wrong. Traffic tunnels are never this long. My mind started to wander to all the road trip urban legends I'd read about the killer in the back seat, the disappearing gas station, and the pale man in the cornfield. Did we stumble into some strange outlier location? An in-between point on the endless roads that cross this country? Then I saw it. Luck. A person. Thank God, Mia shouted. As we rounded a curve in the tunnel, a group of maintenance workers entered our view. The three of them stood on the left side of the road behind two more sawhorses, topped with flashing lights. Two of them faced us, the third was facing the other two. The one with his back to us wore a light on his hard hat. Was this the same guy we saw earlier? How did he get this far away? I approached slowly and rolled down the window. Hey, you left us waiting back there, I yelled. There was no response. All three men were completely silent, and it was hard to tell in the flashing light of the sawhorses, but they looked to be standing completely still. Hello, I yelled again. I pushed open my door and stepped out onto the pavement. Eric, wait. I held up a finger to Mia. Just a second. I slowly stepped towards the three men. Hello. No response. What the fuck? The bright lights of the sawhorses obscured their faces. I kept moving closer. Hey, what's going on? Then I saw it. Their faces were plastic. In front of me stood three mannequins. I backed away toward the RV, then turned and hurriedly walked to the vehicle. I was seriously freaked out, but I didn't want to alarm Mia. I climbed into the driver's seat and slammed the door shut. They're mannequins, I said. But they're mannequins. Why? What? I don't know. I looked back over at the three figures, and my blood ran cold. The hard hat mannequin had somehow turned around to face us. All three figures appeared to be watching us now. Then we heard it. A loud, resonant banging on the side, and then the roof of the RV. What the hell was that? Mia whispered. We listened, holding our breath. A shuffling sound. Something was moving on or in the RV. Stay here, I said. I got up. Eric, wait. I moved to the back of the RV. It was dark. I went for a drawer in the kitchenette space and pulled out a flashlight. I moved to the rear of the RV. The bedroom. My flashlight illuminated an empty room. Whoever is back here, I have a gun. A shitty bluff. But I didn't see anything. I shone the light out of the windows on each side of the RV. Nothing. Then I heard it. A shuffling sound came from right above me. I looked up and screamed. Block. On the roof of the RV, staring through the skylight, was a woman with vacuous black eyes and a dead smile. Her stringy black hair dangled down towards me, casting black shadows across her horrible, pale face. Mia, drive. Fast, I screamed. Mia jumped over to the driver's seat, shifted into gear, and stomped on the gas. The RV was clunky, but it could move when it needed to. We lurched forward, and I fell back. I trained my flashlight up onto the skylight again, and the woman was gone. I scrambled to my feet and looked out of the side windows. Did Mia shake her off? There was no sign of the woman. I moved to the passenger seat, breathing heavily and sweating. What happened? She asked, keeping the RV at a steady 50 mph. There was a woman on the roof, I said flatly. I realized now that I was in a kind of shock. The woman. Her eyes were black. Mia just looked at me, then back at the tunnel ahead of us. There's something wrong with this tunnel, I whispered. Mia pointed at the road ahead and said, look. I looked out at the tunnel. There were more mannequins. There are a lot more mannequins. They were positioned on both sides of the road. They were all facing us. And even though I never saw them move when I looked in the side view mirror, they were somehow still facing us, turning to watch us as we drove past. Watching without eyes. Just keep driving, I said. As we drove on, the mannequins crowded the sides of the road more and more. There were thousands of them. Eventually, they were so close that some of their outstretched arms hit the side of the RV. They were closing in on us, squeezing our path forward. One stood in the middle of the road. I don't think I can get around it. Run it over. Don't stop. The RV smashed into the mannequin. Its head shot forward and bounced against the windshield, and the vehicle shuddered as it rolled over the body. Soon there were 2 on the road. Then 3. I could see where this was going. Pretty soon there would be too many for the RV to ram through, but god damn it, we were going to get through as many as we could. Speed up, Mia. Crash. The sound was surreal, smashing into mannequin after mannequin at nearly 60 miles per hour. Hands, legs, heads, and torsos flew. The windshield cracked. The RV shuddered and screamed, and eventually slowed down, despite the screaming engine. I'm certain the axle was jammed up with lifeless plastic body parts. Eventually we came to a stop. She won't move, Mia said. She pressed on the gas, but it was no use. The RV just rocked a little bit. Try reverse. She shifted and pressed on the gas, and we got some decent movement before running into another jam. Fuck. Should we get out and look? Mia asked. I'll go, I said as I grabbed the flashlight and popped the passenger door. Mia unbuckled her seatbelt. We'll go together. Yeah. We stumbled out of the RV on the passenger side. It was like stepping into hell. Countless, lifeless faces stared out at us from the darkness. The only light came from the headlights of the RV and my flashlight. We clumsily made our way along the side of the RV. The ground was littered with mannequin pieces. I thought to myself, if we could get a couple of yards cleared out behind the rear tires, we might be able to back out and get enough momentum to reverse back out of here. Instead, when we got to the back of the RV, my stomach flipped and my heart sank. I was expecting to see a trail of flattened mannequins instead. The RV was now surrounded by thousands of perfectly intact mannequins standing at attention. It was as if their ranks had somehow been replenished after our vehicular assault. This is impossible. She started to cry. I held her close. We'll keep moving, I said. It will never end. The tunnel makes no sense. It only curves in one direction. I looked at her. What do you mean? This whole time, the tunnel has only been curving to the right. It would sometimes straighten out or go left for a few yards, but before too long, we were curving to the right again. We've either been driving in circles or spiraling downward. So we'll go back the way we came, and hope we're not going in circles, I said. We had been driving for hours at this point. Walking back out the way we came would take days. But now that I thought about it, Mia was right. We'd only been curving to the right. This tunnel seemed to be very gradually taking us downward into the earth. Going forward would not get us any closer to escaping. We'll need food from the RV, Mia said. I nodded, and we stumbled our way back to the front of the RV, the mannequins' lifeless faces watching us the whole time. I stepped up to the passenger door and nearly fell back when I looked through the window. What the fuck, I breathed. What I saw were 2 mannequins sitting in the driver's and passenger seats. How did they get in there? I have no idea, but what made my blood run cold was that they were dressed exactly like Mia and me. They wore identical sets of clothes. The one in the passenger seat had my same New Order t-shirt and black jeans. The one in the driver's seat had Mia's green striped sweater and denim shorts. Their plastic faces stared out through the shattered windshield at the endless crowd of mannequins staring back at them. Mia stepped up and saw the uncanny display. What the fuck, Mia echoed. I pulled myself up into the RV and slowly stepped around my mannequin doppelganger. I avoided looking into its face, but I swear I could feel it watching me as I stumbled around it. Mia followed, and we made our way into the back of our dark RV. Luckily, we had just stocked our cooler full of deli meat and water not long after crossing the Colorado state line. Let me know in the comments if you need part 2.